my name is Barbs. Today we're going to be going over Warrior 3 and a little bit of airplane. They're almost the same thing. But one of the interesting parts of yoga is how they name some of the poses. So Warrior 3 is called Warrior 3 because the priorities of Warrior 1 and Warrior 2 equals the priorities of Warrior 3 basically. So they say if you practice Warrior 1 and Warrior 2 a lot, you'll be able to get into Warrior 3 and get really deep into Warrior 3. For example, one of the priorities for Warrior 3 is hip extension and internal rotation, which you see in Warrior 1. Because Warrior 3, you're balancing on one leg and your hips are actually level to the mat. So in order for your hips to be level, there's a slight internal rotation to square off your hips. And this part is obviously hip extension. Warrior 2 priorities come in because Warrior 3 also has hamstring length and strength. In order to balance on one leg with a straight leg, you need hamstring length and strength, which comes from Warrior 2. Your back is also flat in Warrior 3, and your back is flat and strong in Warrior 2. But in order to also keep your back in a slight back bend with your arms are overhead, you need the shoulder strength, upper body strength, and mobility in Warrior 1 in order to keep your hands parallel in front of you. So you can work on Warrior 1s and Warrior 2s, but another thing you can work on to help balance on one leg in case that happens to be a weakness is literally you can flow between any of the Warriors to an airplane, or which is technically a little bit easier, or crescent. So if I were in crescent and I flow between, that's a very bad crescent, to airplane. Like my arms are by my side, so I'm removing one of the variables in Warrior 3, and it makes it easier to balance. So you can work on flowing between crescent, maybe having your knee up, coming back to airplane, to crescent, or maybe even like hovering and coming back to chair. Whatever will help you personally get better balance on one leg. Some of the cues or some of the alignment to take into consideration in Warrior 3 is 1, hips are level, and you're trying to make a T. You're stretching your upper body to the front and your leg towards the back in opposite directions, like someone's playing tug of war. Your back is flat, and you should prioritize a straight line rather than the hinge, because you want to work on engaging the back side of your body to build the strength to eventually hold that flat line for a long time. So if you're rounding, for example, I'm further down in the hinge, but if I'm rounding, I'm not engaging the back side of my body. I need to keep it flat with my gaze forward in order to work the back part. So if you ever have to choose one or the other, even if you're up here, it's much better to stay here because you're still getting the benefits of the pose, even if you're not making the shape yet. And to help level off your hips, imagine that you're closing your hips, or sometimes I imagine that I'm sort of screwing something in to rotate my leg internally in order to close off my hips towards the ground. So that if you imagine that there's a ball on your back, it should either flat fall or roll off straight down because your back is flat and you're not in a capital T yet, or you should be able to hold it on your back if your back is flat and you're in a capital T. So if your hips are not level, the ball will fall on either side, and that's what you're trying to avoid. And that was basically the main priorities for Warrior 3. I mean, I don't really have poses to demonstrate because Warrior 1 and Warrior 2 are poses that I've covered before. And then with the airplane, your arms are by your side. So try to always maintain a flat back whenever possible, and always prioritize a straight line from your hands to your feet, and try to keep your hips level. So your hips are not open and they're facing the floor, they're square to the floor, but your gaze is forward. Thank you for watching.